welcome to all of you and a heartfelt namaste. I, Anuradha, would like to thank all of you for liking, subscribing, and sharing our YouTube and Spotify channels. Today, we are going to talk about yogas. We think that these yogas that we find in our chart are very important. And yes, they are. But have you ever thought that the yoga you're born in, the natal yoga that you're born in, one that is a part of the Panchang, how much it has to offer to you? Well, for starters, today, I'm going to explain this yoga to you. This yoga is one of the 5 elements of the Panchang, that is the Tithi, Vara, Karna, Nakshatra, and Yog. It is considered as the last part of the Panchang because it covers all the other things. When one is born in a good yoga, in fact, just like the nakshatras, there's 27 nakshatras, there are 27 yogas. And as the nakshatras vary from being very good to be average, to be some being very strong yoga, strong nakshatras, some giving very strong results, these yogas also vary in the same pattern. So yogas are important because they're ruled by Jupiter. How does Jupiter affect us? All of us know when we are looking for a transit of Jupiter, we are thinking of something good to happen to us. And Jupiter, as I always keep repeating, and it does bear a repetition, gives us 16 kinds of wealth. With the wealth comes abstract wealth also, just like our prosperity, our happiness, the kind of truth, our jurisprudence, all these things that we get from Jupiter. So if Jupiter is well placed in our charts, there are a lot of things that one can endure and one passes through. In fact, the Shastras also state that if Jupiter is placed in a person's lagna, there are a lot of things that a person can be protected from. So from that, if we can take an essence, it would mean that Jupiter gives us a lot of protection. And by default, the yoga, which is ruled by Jupiter, as I've always mentioned in my videos on the Panchang, that there are many yogas that are very important for us, and of the yogas which are very important for us, or rather of the 5 angs, the 5 angs of the Panchang denote many things. So as always mentioned in the Panchang, the yoga is the one that cures diseases, gives us happiness, and also gives us protection. When one needs to find a certain amount of blessings and protection in life, because protection is also protection from disease of all kinds, mental, physical, emotional, financial. So when one is looking for protection, one has to see the kind of yoga one is born in. Yoga comes under Jupiter, Ether, and I have mentioned it many a times that it is all enveloping. And a good Jupiter in a person's chart gives us an ability to remedy things. If the Jupiter is not good in a chart, remedial measures will not work. Jupiter being good gives us good food, makes us graceful, makes us articulate, and makes us well read. So there are many things that you can see that is associated in bringing up the quality of our life and to give us enjoyment, to give us fulfillment in life. If a person's yoga is not good, like if I have to mention, if we can look into the yoga that was a part of Marie Curie's life. She was born in a yoga which is known as Vyaghata Yoga. The name itself sounds a little strict and little stern, and yes, that was one of the reasons, in spite of having so much of talent, having won so many so much of name and fame in the world, she still was not accepted in many levels, and she had to face many difficulties in her life. When we talk about Abraham Lincoln, he was very well known, but he was born in the Vyatipat Yoga. The name again, it means that there is a lot of problems coming up in life. And yes, he rose to phenomenal heights. All the people with the very strong yogas, if they work very hard, they will reach to phenomenal heights. But the smoothness in the path is always missing. They will have to work extra hard, put in a lot of effort to reach where they are, and they may not be very happy because the quotient of happiness would be missing out in their lives. At the same time, if we look at the chart of Subhash Chandra Bose, again, he was born in Atigandha Yoga, which again shows a lot of conflict. Mahatma Gandhi, he had his share of struggles too, but he found the necessary people around him, which propelled him to a fact that today, the world over, he is known as the father of the nation for India. And he was born in the Sadhya Yoga. Sadhya Yoga is one of the very beautiful yogas which gives you a lot of knowledge. Incidentally, Mahatma Gandhi was by profession a lawyer also. We see we see the yoga for Indira Gandhi. Her yoga was Gandha yoga, which again means you have to fight it all out. Being a lady with no support, her father had passed away, her husband had passed away. There was not much support that she could endure from others. She had to implement emergency in India. Then she had to lose a case. She had to resurrect. There was a lot of pressure politically that she had to endure, and she also had to rear her children up. So there we see, and she'd lost two children also. She'd lost one son before her death, so, and she had to get her another son who was really not interested in politics into politics. We see a lot of problems in the life of these people who have the yogas which are a little strong in showing their effect. At the same time, when the yogas are smooth, when the yogas like Sadhya Yoga, when you have yogas like Verevan Yoga, which bestow a lot of funds, a lot of wealth to you, when you have yoga like Preeti Yoga, which bestows friendship, which bestows protection from friends, you will see life becoming much more smooth. So this is about yoga. Yes, certain yogas give you a lot of wealth, and certain yogas can be really trying for the person concerned. We have been born with that, and it's important to look at this yoga when we are reading a chart, because it gives us a fair view as to whether the life of the person, immaterial, whether they're succeeding in life, they're getting a lot of accolades in life, whether this yoga is going to make them live a life which is happy, which is full of life, lively, or they're going to make the steep a little too steeper for everybody else to follow, and it's going to be a tough ride up there for them. This is important part of the yoga. We have know that Jupiter, who is supposed to be the Dev Guru, also he gives a lot of protection of the 16 kind of wealth that I was talking about earlier. Jupiter gives us a lot of protection, a lot of prosperity in life. Prosperity is an all-around development, happiness and development in all the 5 fields of life, 5 areas of life. So Jupiter, if it is well placed for a person in the chart, irrespective, gives a lot of happiness to a person. And if the yoga along with that is very conducive to your growth, then it is kind of the icing on the cake. You make it really good. One such yoga that we're going to talk about is the Dhriti yoga. Dhriti yoga is 8 in the series of yogas, and it brings in lot of patience for a person. It brings in a person who has loyal following people. These people are also very loyal. These people are very subdued, but their wealth quotient in life is strong. These people are quick to take actions. These people know whom to heal, whom to approach, and how to work. They may be working on the side, they may be working behind the back, but they are always active, and they know that they have a better and a bigger goal in life to achieve, and invariably they're able to achieve that bigger goal they have set for themselves. So the deity for this nakshatra, for this yoga, is Apa, and Apa as such is a deity that has not a lot of mention in the Vedas or other classical texts, but it does say that she is a very quiet person who is also has a very mysterious effect to her. The yogi planet for this nakshatra is, I am sorry for repeating Nakshatra too often. The yogi planet for this yoga is Rahu, and the Avayogi is Venus. There's a lot of mention that we have to talk about in yogi and Avayogi planets, and I would be taking it up as a separate video some other time. Yogi planets help us rise in life, whereas the Avayogi planets can in their times bring us down or create a lot of trouble. So keeping this in mind, we should also go ahead and see what this yoga can give us. Because Rahu is the yogi planet, somebody who is always ready to change, somebody who's open to new technology, somebody who's open to anything new that comes in their life, depending on where Rahu is placed. Because Rahu, if it is placed for you in the third house, subject to being a good Jupiter placement. If Rahu is placed in the third house, you could be open to chatting with people, open to new kind of conversations. At the other end, if it is placed in the seventh house, you are open to making partnerships with everybody and different kind of people. It could be international partnerships also. If this Rahu is in the second house, you could be a good cook who knows, or you could earn your name, fame under the sun, who, by cooking different kind of cuisines or talking different kinds of languages. Rahu means different. Rahu means foreign. So wherever this Rahu is sitting in your chart, when you have this Dhriti yoga, it will give a good definition as to what you can do, where you can bring about changes, where you can have an expansive factor, not just sticking on to the traditional kind of a lookout, and you can move to a great heights. So let us also see a few example charts as to where, if this Rahu is placed, it can bring about a good name and fame for you. If we're talking about Rahu, if it's placed in the 8th house with this Dhriti yoga, it very well can see that you can be moving to a foreign country, you can be moving to a different place from where you could get your name and fame, or you could be having certain problems to change, but once you change, it opens up for you. At the same time, if this Rahu is in your 6th house, know very well what to speak, how to be articulate, how to plan, have a sense of discretion, which is very important. Have a good sense of knowing how to control your shad-ripus. Be compassionate towards people at your workplace and be open to working in whatever environment that comes your way. That is a good way to expand on this Dhriti yoga. So as we move down to a few charts, we first take the chart of A.R. Rahman. For A.R. Rahman, Rahu is in the 5th house. 5th house talks, and yes, this Jupiter, with which we talk about the as a factor of what should I say, as a factor of the most important part of yoga in giving you the happiness, giving you the protection. This Jupiter is placed in the 8th house. It's exalted and it aspects its own house, the 4th house. So there will be sudden changes. And Jupiter represents religion. Yes, he's had a change of religion under dire circumstances, which has worked for his favor. This Rahu is in the 5th house. When Rahu is in the 5th house, it becomes a yoga karaka and it gives beautiful results. So 5th house is the house of one's creativity. 5th house is the house of one's higher recognition, or should we say that this is a place that makes one a celebrity, makes one well known. It is because of his creativity that A.R. Rahman is known the world over, and he's been open to all sorts of music that is known to create. And he was the one who brought in a lot of newness, different kind of music. The hollow music, it was bought in the industry by him, and in fact he's known as the Mozart of Madras. So we see how by the change that he's been able to adopt, he's got his name and fame, looking at Rahu and the 5th house in general. And that too, if we see, it's in Bharani Nakshatra, which does talk about change and transformation. So that cements it. And it Guru or Jupiter also says change becomes essential for him. We take up the case of Larry King. In case of Larry King, Rahu is in the 3rd house. Jupiter is again very strongly placed in the 10th house. It's the lord of the 4th house aspecting the 4th house. It is placed in the 10th house in the Lagna. And so this Jupiter again is well placed. Rahu in the 3rd house denotes change. 3rd house talks about again our creativity, but it also talks about the way one expresses himself or herself on a public platform. That is about being a orator. So here when we look about into the chart of Larry King, we see that he's been an orator. In fact, he's been one of those people who's had a name in the talk show industry, and his is the most potent, was the most potent show, Larry King Live, till the time Oprah's show took over. So we see, for a person who was open to interviewing everybody and anybody and was open to changes, he allowed people to speak up for themselves, and then he took it up from there. We understand that Rahu works beautifully in his case, and during the periods of Rahu, he must have got a great deal in life. Rahu for him is again in Dhanishta Nakshatra, bringing him wealth from his speech. Do look into your charts. Understand this yoga is very important for you. If these yogas work for us, they can bring in, and we understand how to make these yogas work in our favor. We can bring in a lot of prosperity, health, wealth, happiness, children, 16 kinds of wealth in our lives. Till we meet with you again, stay safe and do tune in to our channel. Thank you.
Please hit the bell icon for fresh updates. Don't forget to like, share and comment on the videos, and please subscribe to our channel.